Namaste students, welcome back to your history class, the modern Europe. Let us continue with the chapter, the geographical explorations. The countries which were engaged in geographical explorations after the Middle Ages was the Portugal and Spain. These sailors were sent by Henry. They moved around for a long period and explored the west coast of the African continent, and they went a very long distance towards the south. We are having Bartholomew Diaz reached the southern tip of the African continent and called this as the Cape of Good Hope. In 1498, Vasco da Gama of Portugal sailed through the Cape of Good Hope and reached crossed the Indian Ocean and reached the India in Calicut. Thus, the dream of reaching India by the Europeans came to the reality. We are having Christopher Columbus of Genoa city who crossed the Atlantic Ocean with the help of the King of Spain, and reached the Bahamas in the West Indies, that is the Caribbean islands. And we are also having the Amerigo Vespucci of Italy, who moved to the west of Europe and discovered the America. While Portugal's Cabral reached the Brazil in 1500 CE, the Balbo climbed a hill near the Panama Strait and saw a vast ocean to the west. That was the Pacific Ocean. Another Portuguese sailor, Ferdinand Magellan, was the first to go round the Cape. After traveling for 5 months, he reached the South America in the year 1520. From there, he reached to the Philippines, and through the Indian Ocean, one of the ships passed between the Indonesian islands and went to the and reached the Spain via the Cape of Good Hope. Now let us move on to what were the effects of the geographical explorations. Europeans could establish the direct links with America, Africa, and Asia. They earned a lot of wealth and also the knowledge from this. The entire economic system of Europe underwent the changes. The prosperity of Italy and Germany declined, and the countries like France and England became powerful, and they built the huge kingdoms. We also see that the England and France built the new markets in America and India and founded colonies in these places and earned more profit. The Christian preachers went to the new places and they introduced Christianity. These explorations also facilitated the exchange of ideas between the East and the West, resulting in new knowledge. With the help of Magellan, it was practically proved that the earth is not flat but round. As the American slaves were utilized for the economical development of North America, the slave trade came into existence. Now let us move on to the religious reformation. The questioning, we have to know what do we mean by religious reformation. The questioning of the authority of the Catholic Church and the Pope. With the rise of modernity, we call that as the religious reformation. Pope, he started leading the life of luxury, and the churches became greedy and they started exploiting the people. Martin Luther of Germany started a huge people's movement against the Pope and Catholic Church. This movement not only created division in the Christianity but also forced the Catholic Church to contemplate and start the Counter Reformation movement. There were many members of the Christians, clergy, and the Pope, instead of leading the chaste life, indulged in the materialistic pleasures, and many of them have committed the immoral acts. The Pope, instead of reforming the religion, showed the interest in politics. Italy's Boccaccio, Holland's Erasmus, and England's John Wycliffe condemned these acts. Secondly, all the clergy are not the scholars. They stayed away from the study of Bible. They also became a part of the misdeeds of the church. There was clashes during the Middle Ages between the emperors and the Pope. And the Pope wounded the pride and self-respect of the Europeans. They supported the Reformation movement. Nationalism grew in strength. They did not like the intervention of the Roman Catholic Church or the Pope in the internal issues of the country. Scientifically, the approach and curiosity inspired by Renaissance made the Europeans to contemplate applications of these approaches of religious problems also. The church opposed the translation of the Bible, which was originally in Latin, to other languages. By translating Bible to people's language, Reformation movement reached the people. Now let us know about the Martin Luther. Martin Luther is the founder of the religious Reformation movement. He was born in Isbel as the son of Hans and Margaret. He took into the monkhood and started studying Bible at Augusta's church. He became the professor of theology at Wittenberg University. He was also curious to see the church and the Pope at Rome. He visited Rome. When he visited there, he was unhappy with the luxurious and immoral life of the Pope and the Rome. There were lots of differences between the teachings of Christianity and the actual behavior of the Pope. The religious movement started by Martin Luther was called as a religious Reformation movement. Martin Luther rejected the preachings of the Catholic Church. In 1517, he opposed the sale of pardon letters by the church. The Catholic Church had opined that the God has empowered them to lessen the punishment of the sinners. This power is the result of good deeds done by Jesus Christ and the clergy. So, in order to achieve the pardon, the sinner was accepted to engage in good deeds. So, in many occasions, they would simply pay the church and get the letter of pardon instead of doing good deeds. Martin Luther opposed the sale of letters of the pardon strongly. The followers of Martin Luther were called as Protestants. More than half of the Germans became Protestants. The religious Reformation movement created the internal disturbances in Europe and disturbed the religious environment. Many Europeans had lost their life for the religious faith, and many were imprisoned or their property was confiscated. The Roman Catholics harassed the Protestants wherever they were in majority. Wherever the Protestants got support from the government, harassed the Catholic followers. The famous 30 Years' War between the 30 Years' War is the war between the Protestants and the Catholics. We are having the Counter-Reformation. We will be studying about the Counter-Reformation again in this one. This is Martin Luther. So now let us move on to what were the effects of the religious Reformation. Catholic Christianity was divided into three sects. As a result of this was because as a result of the religious Reformation, the solidarity of the Christian religion received a severe blow. Christianity was divided into three sects, that is the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Protestant Church. There were many European kings who got liberated from the hold of the Church and the Pope. Religious Reformation led to the rise of nationalism among the people. The confiscated wealth of the church was utilized for the economic development. The patriotic feelings became very strong, and the kings of Europe developed a religious tolerance. Due to this movement, the literary fields of progress, local languages influenced the European minds. The Catholic Church itself underwent reformation, and this came to be known as the Counter Reformation. So let us move on to the Counter Reformation movement. The Protestant group gained strength by spreading very rapidly. By this development, the Catholics saw the necessity of self-reformation to protect their image. The arguments of the Protestants were effective in attracting the attention of people. By this incident, they dealt a severe blow to the existence and the survival of Roman Church. They had to do something to protect the interest of the Church. Such necessity gave birth to a movement which was called as the Counter-Reformation. Stopping the advance of the Protestants and repairing the damage of the Roman churches were the objectives of this movement. An attempt was made to find a suitable solution to the problem by making internal changes in the church. The leader of this counter-reformation of the Spanish aristocrat was called as Ignatius Loyola. He founded the Jesus Society. He founded the Jesus Society in the 1540. Their main aim was to restore the glory and authority of the Roman Catholic Church. The main objective was to impart the good education to the followers of this organization and make them to dedicate their life for the service of the society. Next, we are having the Inquisition. What do we mean by? We have to know what do we mean by Inquisition. And Inquisition, it was a religious practice of interrogating those people who violated the dedicates of the church and punishing them, came into existence from 1542 onwards. It also stopped the Catholics from getting converted into Protestants. Now let us move on to the Industrial Revolution. So now we have to know what do we mean by Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was a fundamental change in the ways of goods were produced from human labor to machines. The more efficient means of production and subsequent higher levels of production were triggered for reaching the changes of industrialized societies. The employment of mechanical energy in the place of human energy in the process of production we call it as Industrial Revolution in history. The most effective revolution this has been ever witnessed in the world, and this was started during the 18th century in England, and slowly it started spreading to the other countries also in the Europe. With the establishment of colonies, trade increased and demands for finished goods rose, and also the traditional process of production could not meet the demand. So during this time there was an intellectual awakening and the expectation of the profit took root. Due to this, the people were engaged in the industries. They were encouraged to find the better way of production. So in the starting of the 18th century, new methods in the fields of industries and transports brought about changes. The changes that took place in the industrial field between 1760 to 1830, we call this as the Industrial Revolution. Let us know for the causes of the Industrial Revolution. The scientific inventions that took place in England due to the Renaissance, this resulted in the Industrial Revolution. The population and the taste of the European countries increased, and there was an increase in the demand for the consumer goods, which made the inventions inevitable. The European technicians and skilled laborers who were fed up with the crusades in Europe settled in England, and they took an active part in the Industrial Revolution. The powerful countries of Europe made profit from their colonies, invested in industries which resulted in revolution. And the political stability, better waterways, and natural resources also, this was one of the reasons for industrial revolution. Normally, when we tell revolution means the paced, violent, intense change in political field. But the industrial revolution in England did not witness any swift or violent changes. The changes were slow, gradual, and continuous, and they were also widespread and profound. We see that in 1760 CE, the England was primarily an agricultural country. Woolen textile and cotton textile industries had developed during this time. So, when the trade increased, the demand of the finished goods also increased. The production could not match the demand. So, the skilled artisans would not invest more on the raw materials and speed up the manufacture. Therefore, some rich people employed the skilled artisans for wages, provided them the raw materials, and made them to work in big buildings called as factories. So, this was the foundation for the establishment of factories. The factory owners reaped the huge profits by selling the products manufactured in these factories, and skilled artisans and laborers continued to be poor. In the period between 1760 to 1830 CE, there were great changes which took place in the textile manufacturing industry in England. James Hargreaves invented a weaving machine called as the spinning jenny in 1764. And in 1765, Richard Arkwright, he improved the spinning jenny and invented the water frame. In 1779, Samuel Crompton invented the machine known as mule. John Kay invented the horseshoe, which moved from one side to the another. And during the 1785, the power loom was invented by Edmund Cartwright. And in 1793, the cotton gin was invented by Eli Whitney, and all these inventions enabled the spinning, weaving, ginning, and producing textiles very fast. The invention of the steam engine was done in 1774 CE by James Watt. And also in 1801, Richard Trethewey attached the Watt steam engine to a rail coach and made it to move on the road. He invented an automatic steam engine which moved on rail tracks, and also he invented a rail coach which could be used to transport goods in 1815. A train to carry the passengers between the British towns and the Swacton and the Darlington, and the another train to transport goods from Liverpool and Manchester was constructed. And in 1801, children, William Symington, an American, he adopted the Watt's engine to a boat and made it move. Another American, Robert Fulton, invented a steamship. Now let us move on to the. This is the timeline of the Industrial Revolution, children. The new agriculture, new tools of the agricultural revolution, James Watt's engine, the first rail. All these were improved. This is the timeline of Industrial Revolution. Now let us move on to what were the effects of the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution made England economically a stronger country, and the socialism arose, and also this led to the exploitation of the workers. There was a visible growth in the socio-economic life due to the expansion of modernity. Due to the invention in transportation during Industrial Revolution, the entire globe became a village. Development took place. Though there was development took place during this period, the population also increased, which led to the poverty and food crisis. Industrial Revolution led a huge gap between the rich and the poor. So this is a worksheet where you had to write in your social science long notebook. So with this, we finish up the chapter Modern Europe. Thank you, children.